Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are we doing?
We're doing beautiful, mate.
Feeling funky fresh for a nice little Sunday morning.
Iron Man's ready to go today.
And we're sitting back on our
We're in the
office
studio.
talking shit, as per usual.
Yeah.
And we are joined by the lovely Claudia this morning. So good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank
Welcome.
you.
Welcome, Claudia.
Hit the clap track. You've
It's not on the effects.
Well, we just got asked today. Yeah.
Robot voice or pitch up voice?
We got asked for clapping. That'll
Yeah,
do.
that was
so
close
I'll
enough.
insert it.
Close enough. Well, thank you very much for coming in this morning. How has your week been?
Yeah, week's been good.
Yeah.
Like we were saying just before we got on, busy as always.
Yeah.
I have a business and have a toddler, like I was saying, so they're both very demanding. And but we've all had a good week, hey?
Yeah.
It's been a good week, yeah.
The weather's been dynamite this
It is
week.
insane.
It's just lifted
So
that
nice.
seasonal depression away.
For the sunny F&Q.
For a month.
Yeah.
No.
And I reckon this is probably one of the wettest wet seasons we've had for a while. Like, it's just been gloomy and overcast for like the last 5 months.
Yeah.
Not been ideal, but we're
Been
back.
pretty brutal.
Bro's just got back from New Zealand.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll
It's
run
holiday.
back a
Back
whole
May.
other episode about that on
Yeah.
your crazy adventures.
Yeah.
We went out to breakfast yesterday morning and like he started telling us, I was like, no, wait, save for the podcast.
Yeah, everyone else was like asking about it. You're
Yeah,
like, no.
But we'll just make you, recant it.
Yeah.
Tell us again.
This episode's all about you, though.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So, bro, tell us about New Zealand.
I'm happy to listen.
Oh, beautiful. So, do you want
us,
to
Manny.
just start off telling us a little bit about Kynd Studio, what you do there, how it started, and
the magic behind it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Kynd Studio is, I guess we're most well known for being a yoga and Pilates studio. But beyond that, so we offer classes. It's all mat-based as well. Reformer, like I've said before, Reformer is having like a really, really big moment at the moment. But we're mat-based, and I tried to do that so that it could stay a little bit more affordable, a little bit more accessible, because when we start to get into the yoga and Pilates world, it starts to get a little bit bougie and we feel like it's a little bit beyond our reach. And then we also offer teacher trainings as well. So that's something that I started in 2021 and they're all run by me. So they've been massive projects that I've had to put together and get accredited and all the rest of it. So then I kind of train up staff, but also people who want to go out and do their own thing too.
Oh, wow.
And then when I have capacity, we offer some workshops and a few other things. I'm trying to make it a little bit more like lifestyle based, but the girls just love like something about form or something about alignment. They really love to be like meticulous. And I'm like, what about like healthy living or what about like low tox products? And like, no, like just give me, how do I do a squat better or how do I get a better core? And so, so that's where we're kind of cruising at the moment.
Yeah.
And then we started, so the studio opened in 2021 and before that I was a speech pathologist. I think I was practicing for about 3 years. I was working for the Department of Education. And then all through that time I was actually running my own classes outside of full-time work, and I sort of came to this point where I was like, I'm starting to burn out. Do I pull back on the yoga and Pilates stuff and just say I've had a decent go and I'm going to follow, speech pathology and I'll keep that and start to work up that ladder? Or do I, the way that I saw it was I'm young, I've got energy now, I might as well give it a red hot go, put my all into it, see what can happen, and then I can always be a speechy or do something later, whereas I'm never going to be this young and this energetic. And now that I have a toddler as well, I'm like, I'm not that young and I'm not that energetic anymore. So maybe in years' time, then I'll get some energy back and a bit more sleep. But so that's where we are at the moment. The business kind of came up because no one was doing what I wanted, and I studied in Brisbane and the Gold Coast, and there were studios just everywhere, and I thought there's nothing like this here in my hometown, so I'm going to try and do that for people. That's what I love. Surely if I love it. And I feel like that's how a lot of businesses start as well, right? Like you fall in love with something and then you go, everyone should be loving this too. So that's how it all started.
It's such a beautiful cross section. Like, there was obviously something you were really passionate about, something you loved. You saw there was a gap, so like they just kind of came together, and you just kind of took it from there.
Definitely. And then now, like I said, Pilates is just getting the popularity is just insane. And so I think that sometimes you can get a bit stuck in, like there's too much competition.
Yeah.
But I'm really seeing that as like, okay, well, obviously there's the demand and people love it.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing is right and good, and we'll keep doing that.
Yeah, 100%. I see so many of the gyms like trying to shift their focus towards like Pilates and all these other sort of areas as well, just because of the boom of it, like you talked about.
Yeah.
I think something that you mentioned is taking that jump into the full-time off your business. What did that sort of look like for you? Like, how did you come to that decision? Because it's a pretty scary moment to be like, I'm going to take this risk and set everything aside just to go all in on this.
Yeah, that's it. It's really scary. And thank you. It's really scary. And I don't know, I'm someone that has anxiety and has like dealt with that in my past. And I still do to this day as well. And so I think just what I did was I found people who were going to support me, and that was my now husband, my friends, but also some mentors in the industry too, who are like, yeah, you can do that. Like it's not as scary as what you think. Also, there's so many amazing podcasts like this one, but out there, and you can find anyone who's going to say like, just do the thing. Like the difference between people who are successful and people who aren't, and the people who are successful actually try.
Yeah.
And the people who aren't, they, maybe get too scared or something happens, or they just feel like, they can't do it. And so then they don't. But if you want to be successful, you just got to take that first step, and you're going to fail probably along that journey. Right. But, if you don't take that first step, then you'll never know. Yeah. The biggest, I guess, challenge was always the kind of finances, and then the responsibility to going from a full-time job to going to something that didn't know if it was going to be able to pay me at all. But I just figure money's always going to be there. Money is the thing that kind of comes and goes as well. And doing something that you're passionate about and that you can see has a really positive impact in people's lives, that's what keeps me going. And because it gets really, really hard sometimes, like having all this responsibility and sometimes not the fruits of your labor or that instant gratification coming back, like having your own business. And then I've got to come back to, well, why am I doing it? And then it's always about the people. Like it's not about me. And so then when I take it beyond myself, then I go, yeah, this is why I'm doing it and it's worth it. And what do they need? And then I'll try within capacity at the moment too, try and kind of keep that going.
You speak about passion for yoga and Pilates, and from the other business owners that we've had on the podcast, that's that secret ingredient that's got them through the hard times. Definitely. It's been that invisible motivation. So where did the actual passion for yoga and Pilates come from? And are you like a purist about it, or is it just a form of exercise to you?
Oh yeah. I'm a purist about anything. Like when I find something, I will like research that thing, and oftentimes then I start to get like, that's it. Like I love that thing and I'll like latch onto it. And sometimes that's to my detriment, like it's
like
sort
obsessive?
of, a bit obsessive and a bit close-minded sometimes. So then I've got to try and, open myself up and be like, there's so many different hybrids and things like that for anything. But the passion started when I was in year 11 at school. Actually, one of my friends, her mum was going to a yoga class that was offered at school here at Cairns High, and she was like, why don't you come along? And I had danced my whole life, and I was like, oh great, like this is going to be kind of like dancing. We'll do a bit of stretching and do some splits and it'll be fun. And went to the classes, and I loved it because I was the best one there. So I was like full of ego. I was like, great, like I can do everything here. And all these like teachers and mums and stuff, they were really, really struggling. I was like, this is great. And then over time, like I was 15, being a 15-year-old, it takes a little bit longer for you to start to wrap your head around some higher level concepts. I started to really enjoy the fact that there wasn't any competition involved in yoga. Whereas my dance background, it was always about training for a competition, an Eisteddfod, a performance, and then trying to be the best one, even if it wasn't a competition. Let's say like, you had a end of year performance and who was going to get the lead role or the part. And then in yoga, we were just there. We were just doing the things, breathing, stretching,
Being present,
moving, absolutely, without any goal. And now knowing the philosophy behind it, I realized that that's what kind of kept me, was the fact that you're on the journey and it's not about the destination.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then Pilates as well. Pilates came into it because I'd been practicing on and off for a few years, and one of my yoga teachers had said, you might enjoy Pilates as a complement to your yoga practice. And so I started doing that and I fell in love as well. I saw how they really worked well together. Now that I offer teacher trainings too, I realize that there's a really beautiful spiritual component to Pilates that often doesn't get shared. Like you just think that it's about maybe toning your body and getting, a stronger core or a better back or something like that. But there is that spiritual side of it too, that they go really nicely together.
Do you think that's a point of difference because studios are popping up left, right and centre in Cairns, do you think that's a point of difference and a competitive advantage for you where you have that underlying philosophy that's backing you, as opposed to studios just popping up because they know they can make a quick buck, especially like Reformer Pilates and stuff like that, whereas you've got a deeper element, like almost like spiritual element to the business?
We've just done a really subtle rebrand in the last couple of months, actually. And I spoke to my team and I was like, this is where we're going. And it's about, we're doing the stuff for the body, but it's beyond that. And I said that exact same thing. I was like, because everyone's doing Pilates at the moment, everyone knows that Pilates is good for you. Great, let's let those people do that and do that really well.
That's
and
their entry to the door, and then they stay.
And what we're going to do is take it that next step for the people who do want something that's for the mind. And you always will get something for your mind when you're moving your body, right? Like you feel better when you exercise, you feel better when you just show up for yourself. But we will work on that directly as opposed to indirectly. Like it's just a secondary, but for us, that's the primary. And the body's almost the secondary. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Oh, incredible.
That's great. So you've kind of like gone that extra step to position yourself in the market as sort of like the leaders, the experts in this then.
In that side of things. And I guess just for the people who want that too, because there's some people who go, maybe my body is how it is.
Yeah.
But what else can I get? And then beyond that, so then we go through the mental, but then there's also the energetic or the spiritual component too. And we're starting to understand that we're all energy, right? You can feel someone's energy when they walk into a room. They either feel warm or maybe they don't, or maybe something. And you can say to them, hey, like, are you okay? And they say that they're okay, but you can tell that they're not. Like that's their energy. Yeah, that's what you're picking up on. And so then we're starting to target that too. And that's why, I don't know if you guys are familiar with like sound healing, sound circles, that sort of stuff is starting to take off now because it works on the energy. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Have you noticed that shift just even within, I'd probably say the last like 12 months to 2 years, just everyone kind of moving a lot more towards like a, not just like fitness and
like a
and
holistic,
health, but more holistic and like a well-being approach to it. And that's probably a lot of the drive for why like this has been so successful.
Definitely.
Yeah. And what do you think the drive behind that is?
I think it's kind of like what we were talking about, that people, you get over the body.
Yeah.
And at some stage you go, I've been working on my body and I'm not any happier.
Yeah.
I am getting thrown all of these products on social media or whatever, or these new fad diets or these new programs to try, and I'm still not happier or I still don't feel better. My mind is still the same. So maybe if I do something that's not just focused on the body, but beyond that, maybe I might start to feel better. Maybe I might start to get happier.
Yeah, I feel like there's just so much more variety out there as well too. Even in Cairns, like best examples, like we'll all get together on a Saturday morning and like you've gone for a walk, you've gone for your run, I've gone to gym, and then you've gone and done body balance, but everyone's still moving their body and then coming together after. So there definitely has been that real shift in it. What's kind of, so you're introducing that more kind of like spiritual side into things. What's that look like kind of moving forward with the business?
That's really hard because...
How do you sell spirituality?
Exactly. Because it's not something tangible, right? And also it's not that sexy. The body is really, really sexy and sex sells. Yeah. And so I don't know. If you guys have any ideas, you let me know. But at the moment, I guess what it looks like is for our birthday this year, for the business's birthday, we had like a wellness festival. And so we had some workshops that were on more alignment. So for the people who do want to just, maybe they wanted to work on a specific pose or something in their Pilates practice. And so we kind of brought that in.
Cool.
Yeah. I think, as I was saying, pretty much like I've heard a lot from like business leaders and business influencers, like you're your own target demographic. Like you understand yourself the best. So if you're speaking to that person, that allows you to connect because you're going through those experiences yourself. You've obviously been on the journey. Now you get to introduce people to it. So yeah, it completely lines up with what I've sort of
Does that mean
seen.
like even the approach to the studio is going to change as you change throughout your journey? It's like this new step of like motherhood has kind of taken it a bit of a different direction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's going to evolve with you.
Exactly, which is sometimes really challenging.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, what I know about motherhood is that it's completely life-changing.
Yeah.
And it's where you see a lot of people who maybe will have a complete identity shift, career shift, not do or be who they were before, even like through pregnancy. The way that I approach that is so different to how I'm living life now. And that's really challenging, having like a solid, especially a brick and mortar business too, because people know what we do. And for me, I had to really, again, come back to that why or that purpose and that passion and go, well, what am I doing here? Because motherhood is taking me this way. The business needs me to almost stay where I was.
Yeah.
What do I do now?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then I guess bringing it along for the ride with me is the answer, or what I think is the answer, to kind of let it adapt and grow and evolve with me. And then whoever needs that and wants that are going to come. And then who maybe that's not for anymore.
Yeah.
Like we said, there's so much out there now that they're going to find, you know, what they still need.
Yeah.
Even if we're not maybe offering it in the same way or the same capacity anymore.
It sounds like you have a lot of confidence in the right people will find you guys.
Yeah.
I try to have a lot of confidence in that. And then I get stuck in my head. My mind comes in and goes, no one likes what you're doing, Claudia. Everyone just wants you to go back to how it was. And then, I've got, we've got a really solid group of core members who've been with me from the start. And they go, whatever you do, we're going to be there. And those few people keep me going.
How do you sort of deal with that then? Do you, in your mind, feel like you have to live up to being the expert or the leader of this business? Like, is there any times where you're sort of, I don't know, feel like you're having to live up to the expectations of what people think you should be as the owner of this business or the expert in your area? Like
all the time.
Yeah.
All of the time. And it's a lot of responsibility, or I take it as a lot of responsibility too, that I portray this certain version of myself and that can't slip. And as we know, like, we're all humans and business owners are humans too. And so I might teach something in a class and then, I don't know, that my energy might just slip a little bit, maybe not even in the class, maybe just after the class. But people expect that my energy is like pulled in and where it should be every single day. And so unlike what we're starting to know, that, you can have a rest day and you can, have a hard time. Still, I'm expected to have good times and high times and be the solid pillar of that community all of the time. And so it's kind of about being okay with that. And for me, because I have a team as well, I need to really be aware of when my energy is not where it needs to be to hold space for other people and to do what I need to in the business. So sometimes that means that I don't actually teach a class, and it's very, very rare when it happens. But I ask one of the other teachers, hey, can you teach the class? I'm not feeling...
But you're self-aware enough to know.
That's great. Yeah.
And that's hard because then sometimes people expect me to be there. And then I have to do the whole trade-off of, okay, is it better that I'm there but not at the capacity that they need or that they want? Or is it better that someone else is who has the energy and who has the capacity to be there for them?
What are those signs when you come to that point where you're like, I'm either a little bit low, like is it just feeling tired or exhausted or burnt out, or like when do you know it's time to get someone else to tag in?
When I'm feeling, when it starts to impact my dealings with everyone, including my family, including my husband. Because I don't know about you guys, but oftentimes the people who are closest to you cop the worst of you. And everyone else gets the best of you. And so when that starts to slip even a little bit, that's when I check in and go, what's going on here at home? And maybe I need a little bit more time there and a little bit less being that person for,
everyone else.
Hundreds of people every week. And then it's also oftentimes it's because my personal practices have slipped. So my commitment to myself has slipped. And then that's why, I get a bit short with my husband. That's why I don't have capacity to teach the best classes that I
haven't been filling up your own cup.
Exactly.
Yeah, 100%. A lot of time you see like people when they're really passionate about either a hobby or something on the side, and they take it into a business and it kind of becomes a little bit monotonous or more of a work. You can kind of see that passion slip. Have you ever found, since you've turned it into the business, it's either wavered or changed or varied, or just so you're deeply rooted, you're like, I'm still in love with it?
Good question.
Yeah. It definitely is. It's a job. It's not only my passion, which is really hard. And there's a couple of my teachers who've come through the teacher training with me, and I can see that started to happen for them, that like realization that, this thing that I used to do just for me, I'm now doing for other people, and it doesn't feel quite the same. But for me, because it's what I love so much, I can't see myself doing anything else.
And that's, I guess, how you know that it's sort of like a true passion to you.
Exactly.
Because you see other people that obviously get into the industry or take up a skill or anything or pursue something, and then they do start teaching other people, and that's where it starts weighing off, because you have that habituation where it's just becoming monotonous. And I guess in this case, like, you've found a way to continue to change it for yourself and learn and expand on it each time, so you're actually expanding and becoming more of a master of your craft in that sense.
Yes. And waves are always going to happen, right? And so that passion or that purpose is what keeps you going through the little dips in the wave. And then you come back up, because everyone can join in on a trend or a fad or whatever on the up, right? That's the fun part. But what keeps you when you have that inevitable dip is the passion, or is that full faith and belief, like what you were saying, in that thing, whatever it is.
And you sort of know it's going to come to at points as well, I guess. Like, everyone talks about it in that case of like taking up like a business that was a passion. You sort of hear so many stories where you kind of expect that it's going to happen at some point.
You know it's coming.
You kind of know that it's coming. So it's like, how do you sort of deal with that when it does come through?
And I think that's life though. Like,
that's a good point.
This is one of the big teachings that I have in the studio. This makes me really excited. Is
there's that passion.
Is polarity. It's called the law of polarity, and it's the fact that there are always two sides to the one coin. There's always night. There's always day. There's always winter. There's always summer. Right? There's always going to be a darkness, and there's always going to be a lightness. There's always going to be, or for you to experience happiness, you have to be able to experience sadness. And we don't like the dark side. We don't like the sadness. We don't like the nighttime. We just want to frolic in the day or frolic in the summer. Although in Cairns, it's kind of like flipped, and we want to frolic now. And so I come back to that teaching, and I actually teach that so much in the studio, because I just think I need to hear this again, and so you people probably need to hear this again. If you feel a dip, you can have faith that there's going to be that lift. It has to come, just like the seasons will change, or just like nighttime is going to turn back into daytime. It's going to happen eventually. And so you can kind of then weather that storm. But then on the other hand, you know that the happiness or the light or the summer is fleeting. And so you can just enjoy that while you're there, knowing that it might turn. And that's okay. I don't need to get all worked up that, oh my God, I don't want this thing to end, or I don't want to get sad again, but I'm just going to hang out in this high while I'm here. Let it.
Just enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. Just be there and be present.
It's kind of the beauty of it is, like, in both cases, you sort of know that it's not going to last. So it's beautiful that obviously you get to have this experience, whatever. If you're having good times, you have the beauty of it being short. But then in the dark times, like, I know for myself, the biggest thing that I've always come back to in like the worst times of my life is it's going to get better.
Absolutely.
Like, having that hope, I guess, or reassurance that it is going to get better, even if it sucks right now.
Totally.
It's like, you can't get worse, and it proceeds to get worse, but then it gets better.
Then it gets better. Yeah.
100%.
And sometimes your brain needs proof that that's going to happen. And so that's when that teaching of like, it happens in nature all of the time. Yeah. That's the proof for you. Because sometimes you go, well, it's going to get worse. Like I'm never going to experience a good time again. I'm never going to be happy again. Like, because I'm here right now. And when it's dark, it's really, really dark.
Yeah.
But you go, hang on a minute. The rain will stop or the night will stop.
That's that self-awareness. Like, you've been in that position before and you've come out on the other side. So it's just that proof that it's going to happen again and again and again. Yeah. That's really well said.
So a lot of those teachings of yoga and Pilates, it's a lot about mindfulness, being present, being calming of the mind. Do you think those teachings, what you actually do for a business, has actually made you a better business owner?
100%. 100%. And that's actually one of the reasons why the studio is called Kynd. It's taken from one of the yoga teachings. It's about the qualities of the heart, and it says that there are 4 qualities of the heart that you can work to cultivate. And it's to backtrack a little bit, they're talking about meditation and I guess how to control the mind. They're saying you could do all of these really rigid and rigorous practices, or you can just cultivate the qualities of the heart, and they are kindness or friendliness. And my teacher, one of my teachers, she flipped it. It's translated as friendliness and she flipped it to kindness, and that just caught my ear and caught my mind. And then the other 3 are friendliness and kindness, compassion, joy and equanimity. And so if you can work almost every day or every time you're interacting with yourself and with another, if you can work on those qualities, you're going to have a beautiful life, and then you kind of don't even really need to worry about the mind. And so in that teaching there, I thought, kindness, I'm going to try and teach people to be kind to themselves through yoga and Pilates. I'm going to use that as my vehicle or as my method. And in all of my interactions, I'd best try and be kind. So sometimes I'll get an email come through and it's about something small, maybe like policies and, how we've charged them a late fee because they didn't show up to a class or something like that. It's in our policies. And I just want to say back, it's in our policies. Like, you read that. And I go, that's kindness. Let me just put the business back through one of those teachings again and again and again and again. And so I actually look at that for like a manual for life or for business, not just, to say some cool trendy words in the class, but it's actually how I try to do the business in all areas and in all stages too.
So before, you spoke a little bit about like obviously your journey with like anxiety and like obviously all the overthinking and everything that comes with that, which can be a really big obstacle to being mindful and being present. So do you want to talk a little bit through around your journey in that, and then anyone else that could be in a similar boat? It's just some really nice like easy steps to get started on being mindful.
So I personally think that if you're really, really struggling in your mind, one of the most challenging things can be to stop and be still and meditate. And so a lot of people think that I need to meditate, that's going to be the best thing for my mind. And sometimes I tend to disagree. If you're in that really hard time, being still and just having your mind constantly spiral and you not having any tools or any way to get away from that might be the worst thing for you, to be honest. So instead, what can we do that's kind of taking that practice but making it a bit more user-friendly? Maybe going out for a walk in nature. Nature can heal pretty much anything. And it's so simple. It's often these really simple things. So going out in nature will almost always sort me out. And it might take a little bit, but getting out there, listening to the birds, and sometimes when you're experiencing that anxiety though, you feel like you have too much on, you've got, too many issues or problems that you need to solve, but just taking 5 minutes, you've always got 5 minutes to be able to look after yourself. Some things like breath work is really trending at the moment. And I think that it's trending because unlike a really strict yogic meditation practice, breath work gives you something tangible to do. And it's something that is always available to you. So you don't actually need a teacher. Once you learn a technique that kind of works for you, then you can do that anywhere, anytime. All you need is your breath, which you always have with you. Then it's, I guess, like we were talking about before, whatever works for you. So for some people, it's getting into the gym. For other people, it's going for a run, and they might need to go for however long, but they're going to clear their head. Some people, it's getting into the kitchen. My husband, he goes and saws until the cows come home and makes a whole lot of noise out in the shed. Yeah. And that's his mindfulness.
Yeah.
And it's whatever maybe gets you into like a bit of a flow state.
Yeah. So it's finding what that is for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting, because it's going to be different for everyone.
Totally.
Interesting.
You're talking about kindness and how that's sort of your mission, to be able to show people kindness to themselves.
Yeah.
How do you deal with being kind to yourself?
Oof.
Because I'm sure there's moments where you might be.
Yeah.
All right, let's skip that.
And I guess that's one of the reasons why the business is also called Kynd, because I look up at the, the logo and I go, yeah, right, I need to be a little more kind to myself. Yeah, because I can't show that to others or teach that to others if I'm not living that myself. Yeah. And I guess it just comes back to that self-reflection and self-awareness. Oops, I'm not being very kind to myself right now. Yeah.
Like catching yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes it's not instant.
Yeah.
Sometimes, something has happened and rolled out, maybe a week of doing something, and they go, it's because I've been a little bit nasty to myself, actually.
Talk about being kind to yourself. So where do you find the balance between, giving yourself a break every now and then, but still getting what you need to done?
I think that kindness is often mistaken as weakness or softness or easiness, and it's not. Sometimes it is giving yourself a little kick up the bum, that like tough love. Yeah. And it can be a really fine line. Like it's a fine line, but so the more aware that you are of that line and how fine it is or how clear it is, then the more you know when you need to rest and to soften on yourself, and when you actually need to say, hang on, that's enough. Like you've been dipping into stuff that is not useful or beneficial for where you're trying to go, and now you need to pull yourself up out of that. And unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, the only person who knows that line is you. Yeah. So you can't ask someone else, hey, do you think I need to rest right now, or do you think I need to get up and do the thing? Someone might have an idea, but they're not going to have that idea like you. And so if you can then work on practices that increase or enhance that awareness of yourself, whatever that may be, that mindfulness, those gym or body movement somatic practices, the ones that do start to work on your mind, that awareness will be more clear.
Do you think it's a bit of a blessing and a curse being in the business of yoga and Pilates? Because a lot of the people probably attending your classes, they might have corporate jobs and they come to your studio to find that peace and going through the movements and everything like that. But then talking about like being kind to yourself, is there an inability to retreat to yourself doing what you're teaching as your outlet? Because it's an outlet for other people. But is it an outlet for yourself when you're in those times, or do you revert to your other things like you alluded to, like walking in nature and everything like that?
Absolutely.
Or can you use Pilates to cure yourself even though you're the teacher?
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's why I teach them, because I believe in them.
Awesome.
But it, for me, then I need to know which one is going to sort me out. And so maybe I try the whole menu of practices that I have in my little toolkit. And I go, no, that one didn't do the trick. That one didn't do the trick. Yeah. Oh, okay, it is actually Pilates today. Fantastic. Yeah. And then other times it's, I don't want to go anywhere near the stuff that I'm teaching right now. I'm going to go step outside for a sec. Yeah.
And then deciding whether you need to be around people by yourself as well too.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm an introvert by nature. I don't know if that comes across, and I can't be. I have to be extroverted to hold space for people, and so oftentimes it is I need to be by myself.
Recharge.
And so when I've been with people for a lot, I almost need to like wash the people off me, so to speak. I need to have a little moment. I actually used to, before I got pregnant, I would get home after teaching a couple of evening classes. I'd say to my husband, don't talk to me right now. I just got to go for a shower. And like in the shower, I'd be like, all right, like, okay, everyone who's told me, about their crappy day and this has happened and their boyfriend's done this and blah, 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 wash off me. All right, here we are having dinner now. And sometimes you need like that really visceral almost experience. Other people use a little visualization of like enclosing themselves in an energetic bubble or having like a, I don't know, like off The Incredibles, you know, that
the force.
Like something like that just means that people's energy can kind of bounce off you, but they can still tell you about it. Like there's still that interaction, but it's just not going to penetrate and come any closer. Is that useful?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's such a beautiful skill, to be able to be there for someone and listen to them, what they're going through without taking it on. And like, I don't know if you have any like words of wisdom on that, but I know it's definitely something we speak about all the time, is like to be sympathetic and affectionate without trying to problem solve and take on the weight of their problems onto you.
Yeah. I have always been a big listener and been able to not try to put anything onto people, give them, I don't know, my experience of a similar situation, or try to give them a solution. Sometimes I'll ask people, because people ask me all the time, you know, how do I deal with this? And they'll just start crying in a class. And then after they go, oh, did you see me crying? It's because of this. And it's really, really hard, because I think it's not your stuff. No. It's not your stuff. But you can still be empathetic, even though it's not your stuff. And even if you've not experienced that, or even if you have, and that's not how you'd react, but you can listen. And also that awareness of sometimes you don't have the capacity to listen. You go, this is really big for you right now. Why don't we chat about it tonight or tomorrow, or, you know, next week after the weekend, when I can be fully present and I can be there for you. And sometimes you can't, like if it's something really big, but you know when it's really big like that, you know, and you need to be there with them right then and there. Other times it can usually take a little step back, or maybe like have, I don't know, if it's a message instead, sometimes then that takes away that interaction, and you might have the ability to think about something before you say it as well, and it sort of takes away, I don't know, there's different tools that we have available, do you know what I mean, different mediums to communicate through. Is that answering?
Yeah, 100%.
When you started the business in the studio, were you conscious that you were going to be not only a practitioner of Pilates and yoga, but also like a therapist to your clients? Like, did you know this, or did it just come with the job and you've just had to develop this, I suppose, empathetic response that it's not yoga and Pilates, they just need an ear to listen to? Like, they're here, they're physically here doing the movements, but I know that they're not here just for the movements. That I didn't know that was what I was signing up for. Fortunately, I'm a very empathetic person, almost a bit too much. Boundaries can get crossed a lot of the time. I do struggle to take on people's stuff and need to be aware of when it's not mine and when I actually need to say, hey, I just can't be here for you right now, not in maybe those words. But I guess that's also why that has opened up for me and the studio. Does that make sense? Oh, absolutely.
Because people feel that from me. They feel that warmth. They feel that they can open up. And so then that's really nice. But then on the other hand, it is a lot to carry too. And when you're aware of that, some teachers, I'm sure, you know, they would just think, oh, this person's just ranting right now. Cool. Like, I'm going to join them and I'll add to that rant and I'll, you know, then let them, you know, do a whole like, oh, your day's been really hard, but it's not as hard as my day because my day was like this, or blah, 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 blah. And that could work. And then it kind of comes back to the people who are for you probably will find you. And so some people need that, just that banter of my day was hard and my day was hard and my day, and we kind of bounce off each other with that energy. And some people need the space holding. And they'll find the space holder.
Your vibe attracts your tribe.
Exactly. Exactly.
When have you, like all business people, they face setbacks and complications in the business. When you've faced them, how have you approached to overcoming them, and have you immediately lent on your yoga teachings to be like, okay, this is,
or your mentors,
this is the default way that I should be approaching this setback in my business?
No, my immediate approach, especially lately, has been, that's it, I'm going to set fire to the studio.
I'm going to collect that insurance.
Someone put a bulldozer through it. Like, I am done.
Okay.
I do not want to deal with it anymore. This is too much. That's my immediate
Thank you for your honesty. All right, next question.
I would recommend it to everyone.
Absolutely.
You want us to cut this bit just in case the studio does go on fire?
I'll change insurance so then they won't know.
True.
So honestly, that's usually it. Like it's a too hard basket. My mind takes over. It's a too hard basket. What is the easiest solution for me to get out of the too hard basket? To just get rid of it, right? Or for me to just maybe move. I can't move. My whole family's here. My whole life's here. Other people might relocate and just pack up and leave. Okay, so sit with it for a little bit longer. And then we come back to, if it wasn't there, I'd really, really miss it.
Yeah.
I love it so much. I get so much out of it and I can see the benefit for so many people, even if like that setback was maybe one person. So someone hasn't felt the kindness or the warmth or has a problem with, you know, something that we've done or how we've handled it. But look at the other people who just think that what we do is amazing and they're getting something out of that every single day. And come back to that like 99% over the 1% that is really, really hard because you often latch on to that 1%, the hard thing or the challenging person or whatever it is, and then you got to step back and look at, but look at all the beauty and look at the amazing stuff that we've created, and maybe even checking in with your goals as well and your vision. Like, is this thing going to impact where I'm trying to head? No? Okay, cool. Let's go then. Recently, we had a really, really challenging situation in the studio. And after a lot of tears actually, and, you know, a lot of stress and probably more grey hairs have come through, I've really been seeing it as a lesson and a learning experience. And I thought for this particular situation, I've been teaching for over 10 years. And this is the first time that this has happened. I ran the maths and I was like, that's pretty good stats. Realistically, like, okay, so maybe this is going to happen another one time in the next 10 years. And what can I learn from this? And we've got a team meeting coming up to talk about how to handle it, because it's something that could happen not just again in my business, but also for my teachers in other businesses that they work for and teach for. And so then how can I leverage them and bring them up with me now with what I've learnt so that they know how to handle a similar situation. And so using it then as a lesson for myself, as a learning for myself, but also an opportunity to help others grow their knowledge too. And that took a moment. Like I said, there was the whole, you know, ladder match first. And then that perspective too, this thing was based off an incident, and I thought, wow, how great that it was my class that this happened in and not one of my teachers, because I know exactly what happened. I kind of have the control in this situation. They're safe. My girls are safe. It's on me, but at least it's on me. And that's sort of the responsibility that you take when you step into a business.
We like to lean on philosophy a lot on this podcast, and one of those teachings that is across so many philosophical disciplines is that the obstacle is often the way forward and the challenge is often actually the correct path to be on. So, you know, believing in energy and the universe and everything like that and being spiritual, do you think that this is just the universe throwing up an obstacle because it knows that you can neither handle it, and it's better to happen to you than if it was, like you said, to one of your other teachers or something like that?
Absolutely. And they say in business, but I believe this is in every area of your life, new levels, new devils. It's the same thing, right? When you take that step up in the game, there's new challenges and things that are kind of come up. And then to get to the next level in the game, then you've got to figure out how to meet those challenges, right? Or smash that box or get the token or whatever it is in the game. And then you move ahead and then you move ahead and then you move ahead. In the birthing realm, which I believe is like linked with business, I think that motherhood, birth, business, spirituality, it's all the same.
Cool.
They're like the only way out is through. You can, you know, if you're literally like birthing a baby, you can think that it's so hard, and it is, and you can want all of the different ways out, but one way or another, you're going to have to go through. You're going to have to go through the challenge. You're going to have to go through the pain of it to get to the end result, which is meeting your baby or achieving that dream or that goal in your business or whatever.
Yeah. I think it all links really like closely together. Like you're going to have the highs and lows. You're going to have the obstacles. It's going to be there regardless. The only thing that you can kind of control is how you react to.
Absolutely.
And that's obviously another one. Really big teaching as well too.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I was going to say, do you feel like presence and perspective and mindfulness is something that you can actually ever master? Or do you feel like it's an ongoing discipline?
I think it's a practice.
Yeah.
And like we call yoga a yoga practice.
Yeah.
We don't call it a yoga perfect or a yoga master or something like that. You know, maybe someone will call themselves that.
Yeah.
And then
The Dalai Lama.
Yeah.
I think he just mastered it. I think Buddha mastered it.
Yeah. It's a mindfulness practice. Like, and I think that word has been specifically chosen after that, right? It's not a mindfulness whatever. It's a mindfulness practice because it's a constant work. Just like you practice your squats or you practice your swing or in golf, whatever it is, it's a practice and I'm probably never going to perfect it. And because then when you feel like you've perfected it in yoga anyway, there's always somewhere else that you're going to go. Like we've got, you know, these really challenging moves and then I go to the clients in our studio and I go, all right, now do this from that move. They've mastered a headstand. Cool. All right, now can you go into crow pose from your headstand or headstand from your crow pose? Do you know what those ones are?
No.
We don't have enough space.
No.
Something like that. We go, okay, jump back from that thing. Okay, you can do the solid pose. Now transition it. And it's the same in life. It's like, okay, I've got that. I'm steady and stable maybe when life is easy. Now let's apply it when life is not so easy.
Yeah. Like
Man, yoga is such a metaphor for life, isn't it?
Literally,
it is, honestly. Like, and you don't even need the practice. The practice is the metaphor for the teachings as well, like the physical stuff. It's like like what you do on the mat. I'm like, okay, that's cool, but how have you moved through that, or how have you developed flexibility? Let's say everyone wants to come into the studio because they want to get more flexible, or they want to get more stable and strong. Cool, great, we'll work on that. But that's a metaphor for the flexibility of your mind, for the stability and the strength in your mind. And then let's start to work on that. Once we get it in the body, because then you've got that proof again, like what we're talking about, then we've got something tangible. If I can develop flexibility and strength in my body, I can probably do that in my mind too. Okay, now I can do it in the safety of this yoga studio or on my mat. Now can I do it in my corporate job? Where those people aren't doing the yoga and they're not learning the stuff that I'm learning. Okay, how can I do this out there? Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Incredible.
Clip the reel there. It was like a 55-minute reel we've just recorded.
Yeah, I feel like I just learned so much too. Like,
I can't wait to
It's
listen
pretty
back to this
epic. It's
episode.
pretty
It's a
epic.
good one. Is there any your final takeaways? Like you said, you're moving a lot, moving forward with the business and implementing new things, socials, anything else that you want to kind of use this opportunity?
Yeah, what's it going to look like in 5 years' time?
Oh, in 5 years' time, that's a really good question.
Hopefully not burnt down. But assuming it's still physically there. Yeah.
Look, it's a possibility.
Again, I'll clip this out.
No, hopefully we're just going to continue to roll. We are talking or looking at an expansion. So to be able to offer a bit more, like I said before, I'm trying to bring it more focused on women, and specifically because it's following my journey, mothers. A lot of women and new mothers who talk to me, they say, it's great, I can go to your mums and bubs class, but what about when my baby starts to pull everything down? I can't go to the studio anymore. They're a blob for a couple of months and then they start to go on the move. And so now we're thinking about how we can create classes for parents who aren't working or who don't have access to daycare, because it's really expensive, how they can still access classes while their children are cared for and what that sort of looks like. And then that's probably just going to keep following my journey. That also will create better access, because we know that children learn by imitation. And so rather than putting your kid into daycare so you can go and do your workout, what if they were watching you doing your workout or doing your meditation or doing you know, whatever it is, they're going to learn by watching you. Yeah. And sometimes it's easier if they go to daycare, if they go to grandma's or whatever. But if they can come and see, oh, you know, mum or dad or whoever is looking after themselves for an hour, I'm going to get, you know, a chance to play with these new kids here in the creche or whatever. And look how they are after the class. Now that they've put in that time for themselves, they've filled up their cup like we spoke about at the start. And I think that that's really, really powerful to not actually like do the self-improvement work away from your children or away from the people.
Have them go hand in
hand. Yeah. And so
teaching them.
maybe trying to facilitate that a little bit more for people in Cairns.
Love that.
Amazing.
Amazing
Yeah.
vision.
Some
Yeah.
fully conscious
Yeah.
babies coming up.
Yeah.
here.
That's starting young.
These are some
We
fully
thought we
conscious
started
babies.
early. No, they're going to be.
Yeah. They're literally starting from birth.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's I have
it.
so much to
That's
think about
good.
from that. All right, thank you very
Yeah,
much for
Drew.
coming.
Thank
Claudia,
you.
thank
Yeah,
you so
that was
much for
amazing,
that chat.
honestly.
Have the best weekend ever.
Just
and
amazing.
Yeah, toodaloo.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thanks
Cheers.
for having
Thanks
me.
for coming.
Yeah.
Bye.
Awesome.
Bye.